Hi, everybody. It's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Welcome to all my current subscribers and new viewers. So today I am going to discuss the July 2025 astrology with you. Start off with an introduction, and then I will go on to do your individual sun signs and or ascendants. I suggest you probably listen to or watch for both of them. So what's happening in July? July is starting off with, within days, we're going to have Uranus ingress or go into a different sign. It will go into Gemini. So that's significant. We're also going to have a Mercury retrograde in Leo happen. And then we're going to end the month with a Mercury Cazimi, literally on the last day of July. And of course, we have our two luminations, a full moon and a new moon. So let's start off here. We have that Sun in Cancer until the 23rd of July, and then it's going to move into Leo. We're going to have Jupiter that will be staying in Cancer right up to July 2026, so for a whole year. The other thing that I thought was interesting that a lot of astrologers are talking about is that Mars, that's the planet of energy, action, movement forward, if it's going forward, and it is going to be in Virgo all month. And this really speaks to sort of an overarching energy here of this Mars moving forward, being assertive with regards to what? Anything kind of Virgo. And Virgo is a few things, but my intuition was saying digging up the facts. Digging up the important information is going to be going on as a background energy all the month of July 2025. Now, the other thing, of course, is that it can stand for, that's Virgo, can stand for health. So that's the other thing that may be contentious at this time is issues around health, how we look after ourselves mentally, physically, right? And, the way we eat, what we consume in our bodies, that type of thing. So when we look at 7th of July, going back to what I said at the beginning, that is the day that we officially have Uranus, planet of surprises, unexpected things, unexpected events, great illumination, breaking free, going into the sign of Gemini. I did a whole video on this. I'm not going to go into the intricacies of it, but I will put the link below in the text box if you want to take a look at it. I also go into the sun signs and ascendants in that video. But really what it's doing here is Uranus is shaking up anything to do with communications. So we can expect some probably really big breakthroughs in that area. But it also speaks to, in some ways, a constant change with regards to our neighborhoods that we live in, what we kind of operate in day to day, may have an ongoing change here. For some time, Uranus is going to be staying in that sign for quite a few years. Of course, it's going to be affecting Gemini directly. And so Gemini, you can be looking forward to some big changes in your life as well. I say embrace the change, right? Now, the interesting thing with this Uranus going into Gemini is that, it's an air sign. So we look at, are there any other air signs that are around that are at the early degrees or the first decan of an air sign? And of course, we do have Pluto. So on and off, we're going to have Uranus trining Pluto. And so this is a positive energy, right? But the other thing it's going to be doing is Uranus will be sextiling both Saturn as well as Neptune. And these are all three of these outer planets are interacting with Uranus kind of during the same time period. Certainly, I would say within the next, because Uranus does go back, these other planets do go retrograde, up to 6 months of the year. So we know Uranus will go back into Taurus as well, and then come back out again. And then sextile Saturn, sextile Neptune, and trine Pluto. So I would say we've got this type of energy, which is pretty powerful in terms of change, in terms of transformation, in terms of not only dissolving certain things that we've learned to accept, maybe since we were born, and these would be institutions of any sort, right from churches through banks, through our government, are going to be dissolving. And then we'll be given opportunities, though, to bring in new transformational structures. Or at the very least, we're going to have the abilities and opportunities to change the current structures that we have. And I talk about this not only in the collective to everybody in the world, but also to us individually as well. And we're looking at, of course, Saturn as well as Neptune in Aries, Uranus, as I mentioned, in Gemini, and of course, Pluto in Aquarius. So we come up to our full moon, and our full moon is going to be in Capricorn on the 10th of July. Happy birthday, shout out to my brother John. That is his birthday. So this is going to be some big spotlight put on him, as well as other folks that may have something around 19 degrees of Capricorn, 19 degrees of Cancer, right? Because this full moon has the moon in Capricorn, but then, as every full moon, we have the sun in the opposite sign of Cancer. So the Cancer placements would be it's exactly 18 Capricorn 50, so that would be 18 Cancer 50. So that's why we would round up to 19 and then go back to 18 as, really exact degrees in terms of effects of this. Now, the interesting thing is I sometimes look at culminating stars on moons. And in this case, we do have a culminating star, Acubens, that is going to be right around this 19 degree mark of Capricorn. So this puts an energy of emphasizing solving problems in a logical way. But it is also associated, depending on who you want to read that defines this star Acubens, it's associated with liars and criminals. So some of this may come to light. Go back to what I said at the beginning when I was talking about this energy, this persuasive and assertive energy of Mars in Virgo, digging up all the important facts. That goes along with this star. So we can expect some of this digging up and big illumination at this full moon on the 10th of July. The exact time is 1:37 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Now, the moon trines the south node in Virgo, and then, of course, the north node in Pisces will trine the sun and sextile the south nodes. So we see all at once, both the moon and the sun are bringing in something we need to let go of and opportunities for us to bring in some new things for our destiny path. Now, I saw this particular setup of the sun and the moon interacting with the north nodes and the south nodes as this moving the chess pieces of the collective destiny. But then we can take that back to our personal life too, especially if you have something, as I mentioned, the degrees of the moon and or the sun in Cancer, but also the south nodes and the north nodes in Virgo and Pisces, respectively, towards the 20-some degree mark, right, of their respective signs. Now, we also have, as I mentioned, this whole Saturn Neptune in Aries, and of course, they widely sextile Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Now, these are all big setups for positive change, at least positive opportunities for change with regards to either our individual structures or the structure that we operate in, right? This could be an invisible structure that we have hanging over us that maybe needs to be transformed. And Pluto forming that sextile to the Saturn and the Neptune can really bring in this positive transformational energy. It tends to do things more slowly, whereas Uranus kind of acts more immediately. But this is a very positive background energy for us to have to transform positively our structures that are in our lives. And also with the Neptune part, we may, even as a collective, start changing our philosophical beliefs, our religious beliefs, that type of thing, can undergo a positive change here too, with the effect of Pluto on Neptune in particular, right? And so this whole energy sets up a dismantling and dissolving type energy with these planets, right? Now, our Mercury retrograde in Leo is going to start on the 17th of July, and that will be at the 15-degree mark of Leo. So that's bang right in the middle of the signs. There's 30 degrees in every sign. So 15 is right in the middle of it, right? It's actually at 15 Leo and 34 minutes. And it'll go direct at 4 degrees of Leo in August. I'll cover that in my August video. It exactly sextiles Venus in Gemini. Yeah, I think that's nice. So this says to me at this Mercury retrograde, there may be some news that comes out here that's going to be important for us. Now, it can be something like the royal family, for instance, and that could be any royal family. Typically, we always think of the British royal family, but they may have some discussions going on that are initiated around the 17th of July, and in August, they may make some announcements, that kind of in a superficial way. But this can also work with us too, depending where it falls in your sign. And I'll cover that when I get into the sun signs and the ascendants for you. But certainly, Leo, this is obviously a Mercury retrograde in your sign. It suggests that there's going to be some negotiations during the month of July. And I would say these are going to be very important. They may have something to do with money, right? Because we've got Venus there exactly sextiling as that Mercury goes retrograde in Gemini. Gemini is the planet of communications. It's also about working with others, you know, because Gemini is the twins. So I would say for those Leos that have something that may be coming up mid-July, where it's a negotiation, this could be very positive for you. Now, the other thing that this can bring up too, especially linking with the Gemini part in Venus, is that you could have a writing project. I'm talking now individually, perhaps. A writing project comes up as important, where you have to go back and figure some things out. Maybe put out some communications to get some feedback of some sort to make this a better production or project that you may be doing here. All right, so then we move on to a moon conjuncting Chiron at that time in Aries, but squaring the sun in Cancer. We're also going to have Mars conjunct the south node, and the sun, which is going to be in Cancer at that time at the Mercury retrograde, will widely trine the north nodes in Pisces and widely sextile Uranus, now in Gemini. So there are other things going on at this Mercury retrograde that are kind of challenging from the standpoint of the Chiron and the moon. This is the people being unsettled about something. So I'm taking this to a collective level with that square to the sun. It's like they're disagreeing with those in authority. And the sun, transiting sun, can also represent a male. So this may actually work out to be a male. But with the Cancer influence here too, I think this is in particular in reference to our homeland. But individually, this could actually involve our families if you've got this setup here, right? And then again, of course, we've got this Mars acting in terms of conjuncting the south node. It's saying, you got to let go of this. It's almost like I get this feeling of we're holding on to something that we need to let go of, and instead embrace a new path ahead. And in Pisces, that's a very spiritual type thing, right? Very spiritual. It's compassion. So this Mercury retrograde is also maybe going to bring up something that's a compassionate type of situation that we need to pay attention to. And it may involve that Chiron in the healing of the people. Yeah, I'm getting this feeling of the healing of the people here. And when we've got those wide trines and sextiles with the sun, with the north node, as well as Uranus, there could be something unexpected that comes through here that's very positive. I'm thinking here positive messages being put out by perhaps a male that has great compassion. So that's all to do with the Mercury retrograde. On the 24th of July, well, Leo, you've got your new moon, and it's going to be at 2 degrees of Leo, 8 minutes at 12:11 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And it will widely conjunct Mercury, that's also going to be in Leo, but it will be retrograde at that time, and it will be at 13 degrees of Leo. So it's kind of a little bit of a damper in some respects when we've got a Mercury retrograde on your new moon. And so this is really saying that there may be some things that you're going to have to review after the newness. This is in particular for Leos, of course, or if you've got Leo as an ascendant around that 2-degree mark, which is where the new moon and the sun will be at. So it just puts a little bit of a delay, I think, on some newness. If there's some folks out there that want to make something new at this time, especially as it relates to Leo things, which is on its own kind of creative projects. It's also, for some folks, it may be a new love comes in at this time, but maybe there's a miscommunication or literally a missed communication. Leo also can represent children too, but Leo's also about having fun. And so this new moon does usher in fun. Let's have some fun here. But it also says, you may have to go back and review some communications of some sort and make sure that they're clear, especially as it applies to any creative project, a new love in your life, or your children. Now that moon and sun will be opposite Pluto. And so this is very, very powerful. This is asking for transformation. It's asking a lot of this new moon because it's saying, I want you to transform these things. And the things Pluto wants you to transform are the ones I've just spoken about. Transformation of a love situation, transformation of children, transformation of a creative project, transformation of having fun. You know, a lot of us, especially in the USA, just work and work and work. And we don't, make it a priority to have some fun. This new moon says, please do that. Now, the sun and the moon, as well as Saturn and Neptune, are going to be forming a sextile. And they're going to be forming a sextile with that newly minted Uranus and Gemini. Wow, this is super positive. This is with the Uranus influence here. This is some unexpected, surprising, probably information coming through. Now, this could come through a few ways because Uranus rules in many respects, a lot of things, but in terms of things related to our Earth, it's what is above the Earth. So there might be some really surprising, unexpected information coming into us about scientific discoveries. Typically, we're talking about above the Earth. So maybe NASA will be producing some fabulous pictures here or more information that provide us with a new way of seeing old structures, that's Saturn, in a new way that's more truthful. That's the Neptune part, right? At the very least, I think this could bring in some real new understanding of some structures that we have in our life. So at an individual level that may operate, but also on a collective level. And religion could be brought in here and philosophy again. I know I spoke about that a little earlier, but this is unexpected stuff. And, with that sun very much involved here too, and as I mentioned, that sun can represent a male. This may come through a male, this unexpected, but the sextile says it's going to give us an opportunity to change, right? This is a change moment for us at this new moon in Leo. And of course, Pluto, even though it's a number of degrees into Aquarius, it will widely trine that Uranus too. And so again, we're providing this positive energy with the trine to transform something that is bringing us enlightenment. That's another thing that goes with Uranus, but it's also helping us break through. Now, because that Uranus is in Gemini, I'm thinking on a collective level, there may be a gigantic breakthrough in some kind of communications that has been really held back. And the Mercury retrograde, as part of this new moon, says we're going to enter into negotiations now. I want to cover a little bit I don't often cover generational transits, but having seen this new moon at 2 Leo, it reminded me that there are people who were born with Pluto at 2 Leo. So I would suggest that you get your chart, everyone that's listening or watching here, and look to see, first of all, where your Pluto, your natal Pluto is. And then secondly, I also want you to look at where your Uranus is. And then thirdly, where your Saturn is. So these are all natal placements, because that's what I'm going to be speaking about next, is the effect of those natal planets being activated here by this new moon in Leo from a generational standpoint. So I'll start off first with those that were born with Pluto around 2 degrees of Leo. That's going to be, and these are approximate, you can put in your own comments here if you like. It's going to be based on your own natal chart. But generally speaking, people that were born with Pluto at 2 degrees of Leo were born in August 1940, February to June 1941. So what's interesting is it's a combo here, right? We have that new moon that I just spoke about. That will be conjuncting your Pluto, right? But we also know that we have Pluto in the universe across from that new moon, which is going to be Aquarius. So we also know that transiting Pluto will be opposite to your natal Pluto. And then that new moon will be activating this. So it's important for you to take a look at, I would say, where your, for this group of people, see where what house your Pluto, your natal Pluto at around 2 degrees of Leo, what house it's in, because there's going to be a big activation in that area of your life. And also the opposite sign as well. Well, we know the opposite sign, but the opposite house, right? That's what you want to look at. And then if you've got any conjunctions around this, I could go into trines and oppositions and all that, but I'm going to just keep it real simple and say if you've got something, say, conjunct your Pluto, that's at 2 degrees of Leo natally, then that's going to also be adding in another element here. I mean, you can always reach out to me and we can maybe set up some kind of session where we can look at your chart for you. I do have all my services below if you would like to do that. All right, so that's one group of people. That's a generation of people here we're talking about. Now, we've got those folks that have Uranus that's at around 2 degrees of Leo. Okay? So those folks were born October to December 1955, the latter half of July 56, and April 57, right? Now, there are going to be dates on either sides of those two. As I said, look up your natal chart. So that's interesting. So now we're talking about Uranus, planet of change, and unexpected events being activated here in those folks that I've just spoken about by the new moon conjuncting it, but also having Pluto opposite. So again, go back to where these two different things are in your chart. Namely, we want to know where your Uranus is, what house it's in, right? Because that's going to be activated with regards to some new movement forward in a big way. Now, I'm thinking also, especially with those that have, their Uranus at 2 degrees of Leo, there may be some of those folks, these are the baby boomers, getting into the latter half of the baby boomer folks. And these people may be rising up here and demanding freedom, Uranus, right? And Uranus can also speak to freedom for the people, So there may be a lot of that group of people that were born during that time, literally rising up at this new moon in Leo that will be conjuncting that. Whatever it is for you, It will be bringing in a new start for you, and it may come in an unexpected way. You may even get it through enlightenment of some sort, or some unexpected change comes your way, depending what house it falls in, right? And of course, like I mentioned, you're going to have Pluto opposite your natal Uranus. Uranus is going to be conjunct the new moon. Yeah, pretty exciting times. I saw this as very exciting. I really did. Just be open to change, I would say. Now, the other group I wanted to talk about was those folks that have Saturn in their natal chart at 2 degrees of Leo. And those folks are the last week of June 1976. But again, go back and look at your chart. I would say we'll take degrees on either side of it. We can probably go back to 1 degree and up to 3 degrees of Leo for this as well, and for all the ones that I just spoke about. But now, in this case, this new moon is going to be conjunct your natal Saturn. And we're going to have Pluto opposing it. So this really says there's going to be some new start with regards to these structures that you have in your life. Now, for some folks, you could have an unexpected elevation where you are seen as an expert now. You achieve some status of some sort, right? Because certainly Saturn can represent rewards and awards for hard work. So there's going to be some folks that were born in 1976 that have this aspect that may actually become an expert of some sort. And maybe we'll even hear about them in the news, some announcement of some sort here. All right, so we end on the 31st of July with that whole Mercury conjunct the Sun, which is a Cazimi. It is at 9 degrees of Leo exactly. So if you do have something at 9 degrees of Leo, there could be some very important message that comes in for you. Certainly when we look at Mercury, we're talking about messages, right? Now, the messages could come with regards to anything Leo-like as well. So we're not only talking about the house this falls in for you, especially if you've got something around 9 degrees of Leo, but also Leo-related things. And again, we're talking about royalty potentially on a more collective level. We're talking also about anything to do with children, perhaps. A new love when we're looking at individuals, right? Having fun as well. Maybe there's going to be some wonderful fun event that comes up at this time. That's very transformational for folks that have something around this 9 degree Leo. Certainly, this is a transformational message of some sort that's going to be going on here. Now, when we're looking at Trump, he has an exact conjunction with his Pluto with this Cazimi. So I would say there's some important information that may either pop out of his mouth or be delivered to him around the end of July. Whatever it is, it's going to be very transformational for him personally as it conjuncts his Pluto. I looked up the actual Sabian symbol for this Cazimi, and it talks about a glass blower shaping beautiful vases. And so this refers to deeply felt emotions. And certainly from a standpoint of Leo, Leo loves deeply, right? It's a very loyal sign. And so this also gives it a feeling of that too at this Cazimi, that there may be some folks here that have some very deeply felt emotions. Hopefully those are positive, and are surrounded by love, maybe new love for some folks. Now, when we look at the August peak, we have Mercury going direct at 4 Leo. We've got a full moon in Aquarius, a new moon at 0 degrees of Virgo. Venus is going to spend almost all of August in Cancer. And the Sun and Mercury will be in Leo. Yeah. I also wanted to mention, I know we've got this whole Jupiter in Cancer. I've done a video on that too, put the link below. But I did want to point out something too for August. When we get Jupiter getting to about 13, 14 degrees of Cancer, it conjuncts a very important royal star called Sirius. And so that is going to happen the second week of August, 13 to 14 degrees of Cancer. So I'm just thinking, and it's a very beneficial, benevolent type of energy. So I just wanted to give you the heads up that the second week of August could be very good for some folks if they do need to have some benevolent energy coming in for them. I'll talk about all that obviously in my August video, but again, and I like to give you a heads up. Okay, I'm going to have a couple of events coming up this year as well. I will go back into my text box when the exact events are announced, and I have a link for you. Both these events will be in San Diego, and they will be at the San Diego Astrological Society meeting and place. This usually happens, there's a volunteer event called the Astrological Bazaar. It's a volunteer event that a number of astrologers and metaphysical type folks volunteer their time. You as the public get to come and pay a small fee and basically get to see a lot of people. I will be doing astrology as well as tarot. But if you want to come and just meet up with me, we can maybe do that. That would be a lot of fun. I'll be taking pictures of everybody that does and put them on my my video as quickly as possible. I had this happen last year. I had so much fun with many of my viewers coming to see me. There's another time you can come and see me too. That's going to be September. Typically, this is going to be the first week, the first Friday in September. And I'm going to be talking about decans. I'm going to be bringing in decans next when I speak to the astrology for the individual sun signs and ascendants. But that's the talk I'm going to be giving. Like I said, it's usually the first Friday in September. It'll be a talk there at the San Diego Astrological Society. It'll be live. I will be filming it as I did last year and put it up as a live event for folks to look at afterwards. It's usually a 2-hour or so type event. So I'm looking forward to that. Please come out if you want to. As I said, I will keep things updated as I can and put out announcements as I have them with links for you to go to. All right, let's move on to take a look at your sun signs and or ascendants. I suggest you look at both. Start off with your ascendant. That will give you the area of your life, and then go into your sun sign just to gather a few more pieces of information, because the sun is one of the most important things in your chart. So Leo, you have your new moon, of course, of the year. So this is like a whole new year for you, Leo, either Leo sun and or ascendant. But let's start off with the full moon, which comes first, and that's going to be in Capricorn. So this takes place in your 6th house. So there's going to be some illumination for you, Leo, with regards to 6th house matters. Typically, I would say this is something to do with your day-to-day job. If you do not work, this is what you do day to day. There's going to be some big focus put on it right here. There could be, for some folks, an ending of what you do day to day and you start something new. Or for other Leos, it may be that you end a job. Maybe you end a job and take on some bigger, more important role in the company that you're in, or you get a completely different job that you decide you want to leave this job. The 6th house also represents things like your health. So there may be some folks that are going to have some ending happen with regards to their health. Maybe you've been working hard at getting an exercise program together and you're seeing results now. This could also be working with a nutritionist and you start seeing results too, that you see this big, wow, I'm really changing up here. The efforts that I put in to make myself healthier is working. For still others, there may be a combination of health and your job. You may be putting too much hard work into your job and it's having a mental toll on you. And you decide at this time to end a certain way of doing your job, that you reach out maybe to your supervisor and say, I can't keep taking on all this stuff. I've kept 2 months worth of what I'm doing. And here is all the hours that are all the hours I'm putting in. This has to change. So something like that could come up too for some Leos. When we look at a Mercury retrograde, which happens next, that Mercury retrograde starts at 15 degrees of Leo, and then in August, it goes forward at 4 degrees. So we're really looking at these degree points, Leo, to have any big effect, but it is in your sign. Take a look at what house it's in, and that will be the area where you've got to either go back on something, review something. The best way I find to use a Mercury retrograde, if it is affecting you, i.e. in your sign, like you, Leo, is to use it for negotiation, right? That's one of the best ways. If you've got a writing project, you use it to look at, how you're putting things together. A proposal of some sort needs to be reworked. You do that during the Mercury retrograde, right? So that's how I would say the positive way of using it is. But there could also be something that you put into effect. We'll just see when this is. That starts on July 17th. So I would just say as a caveat, Leo, to not necessarily start something around the 17th, especially as it relates to any kind of communications. Be very careful about your communications around that day, writing projects, even presenting to people. Make sure you're fully prepared. Look at all the things that could potentially go wrong and make sure you've got a plan B, is what I would say. Now, it's related to Leo type things, generally speaking. So this is children, creative projects. A new love could be part of this mix too. There may be some miscommunications with the new love around that 17th of July. Just work at clearing those up as best you can, and not be disappointed. And know that in August, we are going to have that Mercury go direct. And that'll be the month where you see things clear up, right? Now, the next thing, of course, is your new moon. That will be in Leo. That's on the 24th of July. Super positive for you. If we look at the decan that this is falling in, because it's at 2 degrees of Leo, it falls in the first decan. I use traditional decan definitions, and basically that boils down to the 3 different 10-degree segments of each sign. And there's a different planet associated with each of those 3 decans or segments in a sign, right? And we take, for each of those 3 decans, we have the same element of the sign represented. And we start off with the very first one, with whatever sign it starts off with. And in your case, it's Leo. Well, Leo's ruled by the sun. So that new moon falls in the first decan and has the sun influencing it. Well, the sun is awesome. This is going to be a feel-good type energy where you're going to be almost like illuminated from the inside. In fact, you may even have some folks comment that you look great around this new moon. Certainly, it's going to make you feel empowered, this new moon, right? And because it's also opposite that Pluto, we can say that this is transformational positive energy for you. So I really see this as a positive new moon for Leos, generally speaking, but especially if you say have something around that 2-degree mark of Leo. Now, you're also going to be entertaining that Cazimi on the 31st of July. We have the sun conjunct Mercury at 9 degrees of Leo. So for those folks that have something around 9 degrees of Leo, the end of the month is going to bring in some big revelation of some communication, some information, probably related to a creative project, a child or children, you expressing your own authentic self, and or for some Leos, this might be the start of a new love relationship. Maybe it's that end of the month for some Leos that have maybe started a relationship, but something's faltering with the Mercury retrograde going on. And some big thing is illuminated at that Cazimi for you at the end of the month. So that could be a very positive thing. If there's things that go awry with regards to creative projects, children, and or new love earlier in the month of July, that end of July may bring in some big illuminations with regards to information coming to light or communications that's very important for you. Take care, Leo. So Virgo, well, that full moon that's in Capricorn favorably trines your sign. And it involves your 5th house. So this is potentially, for some folks, the 5th house can represent new love or true love. So for some Virgos, this may see the end of maybe the initial stages of a relationship, and you go to the next stage. That's what the full moon illuminates here. Now it's Capricorn influenced. And so Capricorn, certainly, the planet that rules Capricorn is Saturn, tends to talk about structure. But it could be that you change up, this positive change up of some kind of structure in your life that needs to change. Now, the structure may have something to do with creative projects. Something may change there for you. Or the 5th house can represent children too. And so there may be, I'm thinking this a couple of ways. For those folks that say do want to have a child, this could bring in an opportunity for that to happen. Now it's a full moon, so typically we would talk about, the birth of a child. So there may be some Virgos that have that happen for them. But the other intuitive thing I got was for those Virgos that really want a child, can't have one naturally, and they're connecting with experts in the field. That's very Capricorn-like, right? And consulting with experts in the field that, wrap something up for them and give them something, say, okay, we figured this out. Either an adoption, maybe working with someone to be a surrogate, all that type of thing could be wrapped up, because this is a trine, right? With regards to, say, having a child. Very, very positive in that way. Now, the other thing is some Virgos are just going to wrap up a creative project that you've maybe been working very hard on. And you see the end of it here with the trine. Now, when we look at that new moon in Leo, that falls in your 12th house. And so the new moon is going to be illuminating something in the background. So this is perhaps for some working in the background, maybe some institutions, governments, ashrams, hospitals, prisons, anything that is kind of hidden from the public normally. You may have some new start. And the new start may be something to do with a creative project. But for some lucky Leos, it's going to be a chance to work behind the scenes, really bringing in your creative energy and allowing you to express your authentic self. Leo is very much about expressing your authentic self. So I'm thinking you may have to, and it may even be a secret or a secretive type project for some Virgos, that you can't really talk about it, but that you're really excited about it because it's you. It's you being what you want to be, and it's so creative. So that could come up as a new start for you for some Leos. The other thing is you could be working behind the scenes with regards to, say, a hospital setting, maybe something to do with a child for whatever reason. And this does not have to be a negative thing, right? Because children are very much part of that Leo type thing. But there may be other Leos that, bump into a new love, but they have to keep it kind of behind the scenes or not bring it out into the open yet. Or maybe this new love is in one of these behind the scenes places that I mentioned, hospitals, ashrams, government offices, prisons, all that type of thing. And you've got to keep it, it's a new start for you in love, but you can't come out into the open. And the overriding energy I got was hiding your light under a bushel. And that's going to mean something to some Virgos. I'm getting that as a big intuitive hit here. Yeah. All right. Take care, Virgo. So Libra, that full moon in Capricorn, squares you and involves your fourth house. So this could involve a few things. Capricorn can represent, people that, are the people who know the rules and regulations, any structures in our life. That type of thing can be represented by Capricorn. And with the square, right off the bat, I was thinking, for some Librans, you may be having to either do some structural work in your home or somehow get involved in your family, maybe your mother's structural change in her home. I'm thinking that could be a big thing here. And the added thing where you've got to go to the authorities and get permission, getting a permit to do that building or redecorating or readjusting some aspect of your home. That came to me as the very first thing. And that it's a little frustrating that there's, especially when you're doing anything, any kind of construction to your home or constructing a home, there's a lot of things you've got to put in place with the authorities before you can go ahead with it. That speaks volumes to me for that full moon, that you finally wrap up all these things in a way, but just do a double check to make sure you've covered everything that you're supposed to cover. Now, the other thing is that this could have something to do with your mother and or a family member as well. And this could have you maybe having to be the head of the family, right? Because that Capricorn is ruled by the planet Saturn, and Saturn in many respects represents the father. Typically, we talk about that's the head of the household. So this could have, for some Librans, you having to become the head of the household and do something that's challenging. Maybe you're working full time and you still have to take care of something going on with your family and or your mother at this time. It doesn't mean that it's all going to, be difficult for you. I would say with the Capricorn influence, make sure you check with authorities that might be able to help you with whatever the issues is that are going on. Community help that is available to you that maybe you haven't checked into before. I mean, remember, we've got that Mercury retrograde going on too, right? Kind of mid-month, maybe causing some problems with regards to communications. When we look at that new moon in Leo, well, that forms a sextile with your sign. And the sextile is a positive influence of opportunities coming your way, and it involves your 11th house. And the 11th house can represent our hopes, dreams, and wishes, what we want to do in this world. And so there could be opportunities here coming up for you with that new moon in Leo. That helps you at least see how you can step forward to make some of your hopes, dreams, and wishes come true. But typically what we speak about when we talk about the 11th house, we talk about our friends. We talk about the groups that we belong to. And so with the new moon, it's saying, hey, why don't you shake this up a bit? Why don't you be open to meeting new and different friends? Why don't you be open to joining new groups? Now, the new groups could be very Leo-oriented. There may be a big creative element. Some folks may join some kind of internet dating group. That could be very much in the mix here, especially with Leo, new love, true love type things. And, for some Librans, you may actually rub shoulders with royalty or some famous people at this time, and one of them may become your friend. I mean, I know that's a bit superficial, but that's possible, right? The other thing is that, of course, Leo is very much children-oriented as well, and creative projects. So there may be some Librans that have a creative project come through a friend or a group that they belong to as well. The sextiles are opportunities, whether you want to take them or not, right? You could also meet a new love at this time. That's very Leo, through friends. So for those Librans that are looking for somebody to have a relationship with, be open to friends setting up maybe some blind dates or just inviting you to events where you could potentially meet someone. This is very positive because it's a new moon, right? Take care, Libra. So Scorpio, that full moon in Capricorn sextiles your sign and involves your third house. This is super positive for you to wrap up some kind of communications. There may be some Scorpios that are, say, working on literally putting some structures together that are to do with the internet or some kind of communication system, or a way to communicate, right? SOPs, that type of thing. Could all be wrapped up at this time in a very positive way for some Scorpios, for sure. It could also be a time where maybe some Scorpios have, maybe some of them are traveling nurses that are going around actually giving presentations about a certain thing. That third house says we can wrap it up because it's a full moon. And maybe for some that are traveling short distances, you get the opportunity to stop doing that, and that's a positive thing for you. For others, this could literally be a writing project that gets wrapped up. But the writing project is going to be something Capricorn related. It's related to structures of some sort, rules and regulations potentially, that type of thing, right? The third house is also our neighbors, our neighborhood, as well as our siblings. So there may be a lot of communications that's been going on that are wrapped up, and maybe they have something to do with putting structure in place of some sort. And you see the end of it, right? Now that new moon in Leo squares you, Scorpio, and involves your 10th house. And so there's probably some Scorpios that want to start a new career, and you have a few challenges put in your way. Now, sometimes these challenges are self-imposed, and it's you going up into the next level of a career, and you're reticent about it. That square can put that in too. It can also put in a delay. Oh, you thought you were going to be moving into this new position in a week's time, and they say, no, this is going to be delayed for a couple of weeks. So that sort of thing can happen at a square aspecting your 10th house, for sure. The other thing is that you want to start a new career, and there's some delay put on that. Maybe you got to take a certification of some sort, and that's been delayed, or you have to do one more step to get there. The square can also put in challenges from other people. You want to make this new start, and somebody's saying, not so fast. You don't have this certification, you don't have this degree, whatever it is, right? So I would say for those Scorpios that are looking to change their career, do your due diligence with regards to what's required of you to shine at that time and get that new career going, right? Now, the new career may be very Leo oriented. It might be something to do with creativity, just generally speaking. Maybe you being the purveyor of creative projects for your company. And in fact, that square could put a lot on your shoulders, and you're realizing how much that you have to put effort, you have to put in here that you didn't think you would have to put in. But it can be an adjustment. That could be all it is. I mean, Leo likes to shine. It likes to be on the stage of life. And some people are born naturally to do that. Some people are not. So there's going to be some Scorpios that literally have to get on that stage. And they're finding this challenging, that it's not natural to them. It's okay. I personally went through this myself. I would be the last person to either speak up in a group or certainly get on a stage and do presenting. Certainly you would have never seen me on a YouTube video in the past. And so I had to overcome all that. And it really was being extremely well prepared, practicing in front of a mirror, recording myself, including my voice, and really working hard at being the best I could be, and not being too hard on myself. So for those Scorpios that are in something to do with that, take heart. It can happen. It's just practice, 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 and being well prepared for any questions that might come your way, and and also being well prepared that if you don't know the answer, what you're going to say. Okay, I know I'm speaking to some Scorpios there that's going to be important. You've got a Cazimi at the end of the month that's in Leo too. There's a Leo retrograde going on as well on top of all this stuff. So I would say, Scorpio, don't get disheartened if there are some negative things happening or challenges in your career. I would say look towards first that Cazimi that's going to happen on the 31st as some big enlightenment for you, but also in August for that Mercury retrograde to go direct. Take care, Scorpio. So Sagittarius, that full moon in Capricorn is in your second house. So there's some kind of big illumination with regards to mainly the income that you make. It could also have something to do with your possessions, but it also could have you closing a door on the way you value you. You could be changing up your value system here. Now, it's Capricorn here, Sagittarius, so it could be that you've got to revise an old way, that's Capricorn, of valuing yourself or other people valuing you or not. And so there's something around this, and I suspect for a lot of Sagittarius, it's going to be tied into the money that you are making. Now, Capricorn can also say, we want you to work hard here. So there may be some element of that too, that you have to work hard for the money. And the full moon illuminates that. For others, it could have you say, literally, I've had enough of this old job. I want to do something new here. And that full moon, you make the decision to end that source of income because it's attached to a job that you're letting go of. Now, the new moon in Leo is in a fellow fire sign, Sagittarius, so that trines you. Super positive energy coming your way, and it involves the 9th house. So for those Sagittarius that are waiting for, say, a visa or a passport, a green card, anything to do with that, that's very 9th house. This suggests that, those in power are probably going to at least put some positive energy your way with regards to you getting that. Certainly, this would be a good time to apply for anything like that, the new moon in Leo. And I'll remind you, the new moon in Leo is on the 24th. Just remember that we've got a Mercury retrograde going on, so cross all the T's, dot all the I's. But the 9th house is also, higher education. It's going to be Sagittarius that decide to and get qualified for maybe doing a master's or a Ph.D. That's your new start. For others, this could be a legal matter. There's a new start with regards to a legal matter that's positive for you or that works out positive for you. But this is also, some folks are just going to be traveling. This is great for traveling because you, Sagittarius, rule in the natural zodiac the 9th house. So if there was one activity I would pick for that new moon in Leo for you, Sagittarius, it's get out and travel, especially overseas. It's going to be very, very positive for you. Take care, Sagittarius. So Capricorn, obviously that full moon in Capricorn is in your sign, and therefore we're talking about the first house of you. And I'm going to talk about decans for you as well. I mentioned that I use the traditional way of doing the decans. When we talk about decans, we're talking about the sign having 30 degrees that are divided up into 3 equal 10-degree segments or decans. And so for you, that full moon that's in Capricorn on the 10th of July is going to be at 18 degrees of Capricorn. So that falls in what's called the second decan. And that second decan is going to be ruled by a planet. So the next Earth sign that's after Capricorn is what? It's Taurus. So we look to what planet Taurus is ruled by, and that is Venus. So Capricorn, Venus is going to be very much influencing that full moon for you. Venus can represent love. It can represent a female or females, but it can also represent money. And so I'm thinking that there may be some wrap up, maybe some discussions that you've been having with those that, hold and make the rules and regulations. So this could be someone like a banker, right? Yeah. So I'm thinking that that's one of the biggest things that's coming up to me intuitively for this Capricorn full moon for you is discussions that you've been entering into, maybe for a loan of some sort, maybe even for a new job, where you've got supervisors that you've got to connect with. That's the Capricorn, the Capricorn part of it. That it's very favorable for you, right? That this is what happens. You're wrapping up these final discussions, maybe for a loan, like I said, with a bank. But this could also be, I'm thinking also, you changing the structure of where you want to work. Why do I say that? Because Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is all about work. And so this could be a wrap up of all these things. It could be you also negotiating for more money. That's Venus. For some, it might mean that you are ending something in your life. And maybe that is Venus ruled or Venus associated. That could be a love. But it could also be, a way of valuing yourself too. Venus is our values. Yeah. There's going to be a big illumination put here. If this Capricorn is your sun that you're looking at, take a look to see where your Capricorn sun, what house it falls in, because that will lend it more to, the area of your life. When we look at that new moon in Leo, we're talking about your 8th house. And so there's a new start here. And we have a Mercury retrograde going on, also starting kind of mid July. And then, of course, we got a Cazimi at the end of July in Leo. So I would say that this is you trying to make a new start with regards to any shared resources that you have. Maybe this is a new start with regards to you cleaning up your credit cards. And it's a new start with regards to you getting a better credit rating at this time. That could be featured here. For others, you could be entering into some maybe psychological therapy of some sort. And that's the new start for you. And with the Mercury retrograde and the Cazimi in Leo, this is you sorting out how to conduct yourself and to pick maybe the right person that you wish to do this with. But that 8th house can represent, our shared resources, like I mentioned, which is what we let's say a shared bank account with someone else. But it's also our investments, our 401ks, our pensions, anything to do with that. And so this could be a new start in those areas. And with the Mercury retrograde and the Cazimi in Leo at the end of the month, there could be some new investments that are very, very positive for you. Now, I'm thinking in particular, because it's Leo, the element that is associated with Leo is gold. So literally, you may be investing in something related to gold at this time. I mean, that's a direct translation. It doesn't mean you have to do that, Capricorn. I'm just saying that, giving you the association there, right? But this really could bring some kind of boost to your investments in that. And hey, there may be some Capricorns that are retiring and you decide to choose this new moon in Leo to do that. And during the Mercury retrograde part of it, you're negotiating and figuring out how you do all this. And then you get this fabulous message at the end of the month with the Mercury conjunct the sun in Leo. Yeah. Take care, Capricorn. So Aquarius, that full moon in Capricorn is in your 12th house. And so this says to me that there's some big wrap up, some big illumination that's going on behind the scenes. Now, the behind the scenes could be very Capricorn oriented. So there could be some comings and goings with regards to, say, a supervisor of some sort. Yeah, this could literally have you working behind the scenes with your supervisor. It could have you working behind the scenes to complete some kind of structural type things. So this may be something that you've been doing for some time, and this is a wrap up for you. But it is behind the scenes for whatever reason. Now, typically we talk about institutions like a hospital, for instance. So there may have been some that have been literally having to go to a hospital setting for some reason, right? And you are now wrapping up that or ending that. I'm thinking also there may be some other Aquarians that are wrapping up a job that was behind the scenes in a hospital. And this full moon represents a time when you leave that job. I'm thinking some folks will fall in that category. Others could literally have been putting some structure in place behind the scenes. And now at this full moon, you're able to announce the work that you've been doing here. We could also talk about the 12th house being karma. And so this full moon could also bring to light some karma, maybe some karma that you've been, taking on board that you really need to let go of. It's like there's been a structure around you, Aquarius, that you need to let go of. And this full moon illuminates a way of doing that. I'm thinking this intuitively, by the way, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is structure, it's work as well. Just on the surface, though, this full moon could have a wrap up of you having had to work very hard behind the scenes. So it could actually represent some kind of award or reward given to you for working so hard behind the scenes. And this may just manifest as whatever structure you've been putting together is now seen by those and acknowledged. When we look at that new moon in Leo, we know that it's your opposite sign. So it is your 7th house. And we have a Mercury retrograde going on starting on the 17th of July. Also in Leo, right? Opposing you and activating your 7th house. So we're looking for the Mercury retrograde. We're looking at 15 Leo is when it goes retrograde. And in August, for Leo, it goes direct. And so this could really have your partner really coming more into your sights. They may have some negotiations to do. They may have to go back on maybe some communications that need to be cleared up. The Mercury retrograde could give to them some miscommunications of some sort or missed communications. But just as likely, you could be having some miscommunications with your partner. Now, this can typically be your marriage partner, but it can also be business partners and it could be clients. So if you do have clients, Aquarius, be aware that this month could bring up a lot of miscommunications with clients. So take your time when you're communicating, right? Any kinds of communications here. You could be entering into some kind of negotiations with some business clients here of some sort. That could also be. So that's a positive way of using a Mercury retrograde. And that starts around the 17th of July and ends in August, where it's wrapped up. The Cazimi that's going to be happening at 9 Leo will be on the 31st. And again, that's in your 7th house. So there could be something really, really important with regards to communications that come in for your partner that affects you, Aquarius. I mean, that's a direct sort of translation here. But you could, like I said, also receive some important communication with regards to a partner, a business partner that you are dealing with. I mean, on a more superficial level, there may be some Aquarians that rub shoulders with some famous people, because certainly Leo can represent that as well. And that may occur around the 31st of July. Take care, Aquarius. So for Pisces, that full moon in Capricorn sextiles your sign, and it involves your 11th house. So this tells me there's some sort of big illumination or wrap up of some sort with regards to something to do with friends, It may be that some friends leave you at this time. And with a Capricorn influence, it could be older friends. Maybe they have to leave to, move to a new state or a new city. This could also be a time when you take the opportunity to not be associated with certain friends or not be associated with certain groups that you belong to. And the rationale for that might be that these groups and friends are too old-fashioned, that they're too much entrenched in doing things the old way, and it doesn't jibe with you anymore. You want a fresh start here. And this gives you, with the sextile, an opportunity to change those things up for yourself. It also gives you the opportunity to change a structure that you've been working on or working towards regarding your hopes, dreams, or wishes. Now, when we look at that new moon in Leo, that falls in your 6th house. And then we've got other things going on in Leo, like a Mercury retrograde, and then the Cazimi at the end of the month, all in Leo, highlighting your 6th house. This could just be, for some Pisces, starting a new job, because that's very 6th house. For others, this could be a whole new start with regards to your health. And for still others, some Pisces may get a new furry little animal coming into their life, because that's very 6th house as well. For those that are, negotiating or applying for jobs, that's how you can use the influence of the Mercury retrograde on that new moon in Leo. So this would be a good thing for you to do, Pisces, if you're negotiating a new job here or applying for new jobs. Mercury retrograde can be very positive for you to do that, with your 6th house being activated here, or even a new start. Say you want to stay in the company that you're in, but you want to be elevated up. Maybe elevated up to be maybe more involved in being a person that presents to other people what your company does. So that could be like what you're looking for to elevate yourself. And there's a lot of positive elements here. I would say look towards the 31st of July for those Pisces that are looking for a new job here, whether literally new job in a new company or elevating themselves up in the company they're in. Look towards some really good news around the 31st of July. Equally look towards that time period if you are looking for a new start in your health, because this really favorably accents it. It also accents anything creative, anything where you're expressing your authentic self. It also can speak to some Pisces, maybe meeting a new love through the job that you do. That could be brought in here too. And like I said, we've got the added benefit of the Mercury going retrograde in Leo, and then the Cazimi at the end of the month. So all these things could be highlighted at that new moon in Leo as well, Pisces. Take care, Pisces. So Aries, that full moon in Capricorn squares you and involves your 10th house. So there's going to be some Aries that are just going to be leaving a job at this time, and maybe some Aries that are leaving a career, not just the job. And this is the big wrap up around the full moon in Capricorn. For some Aries, they may have been influenced by a challenging, say, supervisor that's caused some challenges and difficulties at their career and their job. And this is a wrap up. You say, I've had enough now. I mean, for others, this could work out to be positive. You've worked hard with the square. Capricorn is represented by the planet Saturn, which represents hard work. It also represents awards and rewards. So this could literally having some Aries making the conscious decision to work hard to get that award or reward in their career. And this is the determination to do it. And it involves hard work. It can also mean just plain and simple that you're working hard at your career, Aries. And we all have to do that at some point in our life, right? It doesn't mean you're not going to achieve something. With Saturn ruling that Capricorn full moon, you could have, for hard work, get that award or reward. Don't think you can't. Now, that new moon is in a fellow fire sign of Leo, and of course that trines your sign. Trines are always positive energy, and it represents the fifth house. Well, this could very simply, if you want to stick with your career, this could be you getting awarded a big creative project of some sort. For other Aries, this may be a new start with a new love. For others, you may get pregnant at this time because that fifth house can represent children. And the new start is that. And of course, Leo is very much featured, especially the latter half of July, by both a Mercury retrograde as well as the Cazimi in Leo at the end of the month. So, hey, Aries, you could have the latter half of July turning up some really positive energy from the standpoint of creative projects, expressing your authentic self, having fun. Look to that 31st of July to have a lot of fun. If you want to have a party of some sort, let's do it on that 31st of July. And still others, discovering they're pregnant at this time. And others having this maybe really new start with regards to a love relationship. Now, Aries, you know that you have both Saturn now and Neptune that are in your sign. I did do a video on this as well, so I put all these links below if you wanted to take a look at it. But this is obviously personal for you. This is you, Aries, basically dissolving, sort of, I would say, in a systematic way, not in this sudden way, where you see how some of the structures in your life are going to disappear. They're going to dissolve out of your life. And new ones remain, especially as it revolves around your philosophies of things, as well as maybe religion may really change for you over the next few years with that influence there. Take care, Aries. So Taurus, that full moon in Capricorn, of course, is in a fellow earth sign, and it trines you, positive energy beaming towards your ninth house. So this is going to be for some Taurians wrapping up maybe some journey that you've been on, maybe it's some big travel that you've been doing, maybe over land. Taurus can be very land oriented, and you're coming back from a big trip. For others, you see the end to a maybe advanced degree, and or the end to applying to be approved to do an advanced degree. For others, it's you seeing the end, closing the door to a legal matter, and it's positive for you because it's a trine. For still others, this could be you getting your green card, getting that visa that you wanted, anything in that regard, waiting for a passport, that sort of thing could be wrapped up and you get it in your hands, right? Ninth house is also publishing. So there may be some Taurians that are, putting in that writing project that they've been working hard on. And those people that are, running the publishing house say, we accept it. Yeah, we want to have this published. And that's the good news that you get at the full moon. Now, when we look at that new moon in Leo, it squares you, Taurus. And it involves your fourth house. You also have a Mercury retrograde going on, kind of the latter half of July in Leo. And then we've got that lovely Cazimi bringing in an important message. Don't see squares as negative. Squares always say you've got to think, first of all, you got to think outside the box. But it is a new moon that we're talking about. So there's some new start that wants to happen with fourth house matters that you're being delayed, blocked, or challenged on. Simply, this could work out to be something to do with your mother, where maybe you're tasked with doing something with your mother with regards to Maybe placing her in a home. That could be it. Placing her in a new home. And you're having to be real creative about how you do it. Maybe your mother needs to be going to an assisted living facility, and you have to be creative about making it good for her to understand how it is the best thing for her. And maybe working with other groups to make that happen. This could also have you, there could be a new start with regards to, say, a child. Leo represents children. So I'm thinking there could be some challenge regarding a child. Maybe there's a new child that's come into the family here. And there's something around it that's challenging. I mean, when you have your first child, that certainly can involve you having to readjust the whole home. And if there's other members in that home, that they have to make an adjustment too. So for some Taurians, that could be the very thing that you're doing here. For others, you may be just looking at wanting to get a new home, and you're getting challenges with regards to maybe getting a mortgage for it, to get funded for it, to qualify for purchasing the home that you want. Other people might want that home, and you have to compete for it. That could be in the mix here too. Just look at the Mercury retrograde as the negotiation part. So that's the latter half of, if you are, for those Taurians that are into either negotiating with their family, their mother, or for a home or selling a home, use that Mercury retrograde to negotiate, right? That's the best way to use that. And then look to the 31st as some breakthrough message coming through, or communication that's going to help you, aid you with that square. That's how I would look at this, Taurus. Now, Taurus, you're still going to have Uranus come back into your latter half, or not latter half, latter degrees, like 28, 29 degrees of Taurus. Uranus will go back into there when it goes retrograde in a little while. Right now, this month, it is in Gemini, not in Taurus. So celebrate that. So really, it's only going to be those folks that have either their sun and or their ascendant around 28, 29 degrees that still may have one more, illumination of some sort, or change come their way. Take care, Taurus. So Gemini, the big news for you, of course, is the fact that Uranus now is going into your sign, Gemini, for a number of years, shaking you up, waking you up, and illuminating you, bringing you the change, helping you break through to what you want to do in your life. Because this is obviously going to be in your first house. I would say just roll with the punches. Change is very much in the air for you, Gemini. And the change is positive. Uranus doesn't just do things willy-nilly. They're trying to make your life better by taking out or bringing in new things for you. So be open to change with that influence of Uranus and Gemini. All right, the full moon in Capricorn is going to be in your 8th house. So this says there's going to be some ending with regards to maybe some shared resources that you have with other people. This could be an ending with regards to maybe you've been undergoing some psychological therapy and you decide that, you've really learned a lot and you decide you want to end it at this time. This would be a positive thing for you to do. For still others, you may end a relationship with maybe an advisor that you think is too old-fashioned with regards to their investing, and you're looking for someone who's a little more open to different types of things that you could invest in. So that full moon may be seeing the end of that relationship for you. For still others, this full moon for some Geminis may have you stopping adding to your 401k, and instead you retire and start accessing your investments, your 401ks, and your pensions at this time. Now, when we look at that new moon in Leo, and don't forget we've got a Mercury retrograde in Leo and a Cazimi at the end of the month in Leo, all aspecting your 3rd house, but it's by sextile. So this is like a whole bunch of opportunities coming in one after the other for you regarding what? maybe a writing project, just communications generally speaking, you negotiating things, you talking to people, maybe even making new friends, maybe a lot of socializing. That's very Gemini, right? Third house can also have you doing a lot of short distance travel, say around your city or your state at this time. There may be some Geminis that are given the opportunity to do that, right? That maybe you're going to be presenting something to folks that involve you traveling to get there as part of your job. Yeah, I mean, it's just fabulous that that new moon sextiles you, because the other activities are also going to sextile. Those other activities of the Mercury retrograde. So great for negotiating anything. Great for going back and revising something, maybe a writing project. Great for correcting any miscommunications. And then the Cazimi at the end of the month, also in sextile to you, says there could be an important communication coming your way. Maybe the communication might be, hey, I've got this writing project for you. Maybe it's you working with other people, that's very Gem, or another person on something related to a writing project, or some form of learning, right? Third house can be learning. Third and eighth house can also be, or third and ninth house rather, can be some kind of educational thing, with the third house being more earlier education, right? Certifications, that type of thing. Maybe an opportunity for you to do something like that. All right, enjoy that Uranus in your sign, Gemini, and please take care. So Cancer, Cancer, you've got that positive influence of Venus next month that's going to be coming in for you. Let me just see. I'm just looking at my charts here to see when, look at the end here, when Venus is going to go into, So it's literally at that Mercury Cazimi, I know I'm going backwards here for you, Cancer, but that Mercury Cazimi, the sun in Leo, is also going to be the day that we have Venus going into Cancer, and it's going to be staying in Cancer through all of August too. So there may be something important that comes up for you literally at the end of the month, Cancer, related to what? Money in particular, I'm thinking of. Some sort of nurturing of some sort, perhaps coming through the family, maybe your mother, because it's Cancer oriented, right? Something to do with a home that's positive for you, good news. Yeah. And that effect is going to last all through August for you. Like I said, there could be some money coming in for you as well that really boosts you, gives you that cushion that you want. And then you get that news at the end of July. But let's look at this full moon in Capricorn. We know that Capricorn is your opposite sign. So we're really looking at your partner at this time as a focus, right? Now, at the full moon, we know that the sun is going to be in your sign, right, Cancer? So you're going to be influenced by something that's going to be wrapping up for your partner. Now, the wrap up could have something to do with a Capricorn related thing. Well, Saturn rules Capricorn. So we're talking about rules and regulations. We're talking about supervisors. We're talking about those people that hold the rules and regulations. So there may be something that's going to be happening to your partner, whether it's a business partner, marriage partner, and it could be clients too, that you're affected by. But it's an illumination of some sort or an ending. And I get the feeling in terms of a word, it's more ending. So I suspect something's going to end, and maybe it's going to be some really hard work. That's very Saturn in Capricorn, that your partner is going to be doing. That ends at that full moon, and it's a positive thing. And you see it and are affected by it too, because it means that all that hard work that your partner's been doing is going to be wrapped up at this time, or at least the vision of it is going to be clear to you that it is going to be ending at this time. Now, if it's personal to you, Capricorn, this may be a time that you say you do not want to be involved in a business partnership anymore. This could also put some tensions for those folks that are struggling in a marriage of some sort, where it's illuminated and you have to deal with things in a systematic way and take a hard look, that's Saturn, at your marriage at this time. It doesn't mean it's going to end. It just means you may have to take a hard look at what's going on. For some cancers, not all cancers. For others, cancers, you may decide that the clientele that you've been having in your life, you no longer want to have. You want to change that up somehow. And this full moon represents a time when you start to let go of maybe some of your older clients, because Capricorn can represent older people. And that's important for you to wrap that up for some reason. Now, the new moon in Leo, Cancer, falls in your second house. But we also have a Mercury retrograde going on and a Cazimi in Leo at the end of the month. So something is up in a very positive new way, Cancer, with regards to the money that you make. I'm going to say that all Cancers have the opportunity to make more money. Now, this is going to be at that new moon, but you may see evidence of it, Cancer, starting at the Mercury retrograde, where you enter into some kind of negotiations where you want and you get approved in August more money for the job that you do. But this starts at the new moon, where it becomes clear to you that you have an opportunity here. Maybe others have an opportunity to literally get a new job. The new job may be Leo-oriented. It's you expressing your authentic self. It's a big creative job of some sort. Children may be involved. For others, this is more of like a tertiary thing that could happen to Cancers. You could meet someone, a love partner, through the work that you do, where you earn your income. Could come to light at this time too. So all these things, I'm talking about Leo-oriented. But hey, you could also, what I like about this is that new moon in Leo in your second house, you could decide to splash out some of your money to have some fun. And over all the things I've just spoken about regarding that new moon, Cancer, that is something I think you need to do. I mean, don't go overboard, but put some money into having some fun here, Cancer, at that new moon. Throw a party of some sort, you know? Be that important person. Like, show yourself on that stage of life. Let people see you at this time. Yeah, I really like that of that. But again, it could go back to a very basic thing if you're getting a new job with money attached to it, and you negotiate that money at the Mercury retrograde, and then you get this fabulous news in that same house, literally the 31st, right? Regarding money. Yeah, I think overall money may be coming your way, Cancer. Be open to it, right? Especially if there's a creative association with that. All right, well, you've got Jupiter in your sign, Cancer. Can't go wrong with that. Enjoy it. Mainly, Jupiter in Cancer is going to want you to be growing in areas of nurturing yourself. So please remember that as you nurture others. Nothing wrong with that. But that you also are supposed to be nurturing yourself and having great compassion for yourself, Cancer. Take care, Cancer. All right, folks, so that's the end of my take on July 2025. I always love to hear from folks. Please leave your comments. Reach out to me if you want your chart done. I do a combo, a nice combo, pre-recorded $50 type activity for you, which combines your astrology as well as a tarot card reading. It's, I think, pretty good money for what you're going to get for it. I like to hear from folks just commenting. Let me know what happens. I would like to hear, especially from folks towards the end of July when we have that Cazimi, what kind of things come up for you. If you feel you would like to relay something to me, I'd like to hear it. All right, everybody, please take care of yourself. With that new moon in Leo, Leo is all about love. So I'm beaming love out to everybody. Take care and bye for now.